Animals bring a tremendous amount of joy and what seems like unconditional love to human beings and make them very, very happy. So you have to ask, that's one of the questions, I guess, when you talk about animals and pets is, are we different from them or are we the same? Are we human beings with souls and they're not? I think it's good if we start bringing metaphysics into the conversation, because that might be an answer to some of the questions that we're having. Because when we think about, if we took out the religious thought process that we are separate from animals, and if we embrace the thought that we are animals and we've just evolved from them, and if we embrace that somewhat, I believe, scientific fact, although many religions will argue against that. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, we evolved from animals, and therefore we're part of the animal food chain. We can be eaten, and we can eat. So we're part of it. To say, okay, if that's the case, then we're kind of in symbiosis. We're kind of one with them, because whether we love the animal or we eat the animal, if we eat the animal, it becomes part of who we are. It becomes one with us. It becomes part of us. So if we eat an animal, you could see it, if we take judgment out, it's the same thing as loving an animal. There's no difference between one or the other. You're still becoming one with it regardless. If we look at everything as animals, including human beings, then we can understand why what we perceive as separate from us, and the more separate we perceive it, the less we see the God in it, and the less we care. It's not us. That's not me. That's separate from me. But if you see the God in an animal or another person, what you're doing is you're seeing yourself. You're seeing a reflection of yourself in that dog, that cat, that human, whatever it is. But if you do not see a oneness in that, the God in the other person, if you do not have empathy, if you cannot see yourself as a reflection in that animal or the person, then you can do whatever you want with it. If it's a roach and you see it is very much separate from you, you can step on it with no problem at all. And if it's a dog that's real feral and is trying to attack you, if you see that as separate from you, you won't have any issue with killing it. But if you understood its life and how it got to be that, and it was beaten and everything like this, and then you can empathize and understand, because I have had those feelings, then you don't want to kill it. That actually means that you're capable of a tremendous amount of love for others, including other animals, because they are you. You are them. Mm-hmm. See, that's a different flip. That's a different way of looking at it. Most psychologists today would look at it as a black and white thing. But if you look at it from a metaphysical perspective, and that everything is one, then from that perspective, if you are loving the self, you are loving everything else. And so if that dog's loving himself, he's loving you. That's a more difficult concept to grasp, but I think there's more to it just than we're all just here to think about ourselves and what's best for us, and that's it. And that's basically what the human condition or animal condition is all about. But what you're saying is basically what most scientists believe to be true, and how they see human beings as self-interested on a physical, mental, emotional, all level. How can I be happy? What's going to make me happy? It isn't cut and dry about what animals worthy of life or not, or what animals worthy of respect or not, including human beings, because that changes in every single one of us all the time. I mean, we didn't care who Osama bin Laden was, and then all of a sudden many Americans wanted him dead. So all of a sudden his life wasn't worth living. So in other words, all that's about is whether you can see the God or yourself, a reflection of yourself in that person. And if you can do that, then you have a great deal of respect and love for the other person. And that's kind of the teaching of Christ, is that supposedly he could see the God or himself in everything, in everyone, and therefore his ego was totally gone, that it didn't matter what people did to him. He didn't care. He still loved everybody anyhow. And that's the kind of feeling that we want from our pets.